Welcome to Break Free to Brilliance podcast, empowering women in business through thought-provoking interviews and insights. Embrace your authentic power, explore the impact of your story, and discover how writing your best-selling book can amplify your message, authority, and the 3 I's: impact, influence, and income. Let each episode guide you towards brilliance in minutes. This is your host, Seema Giri. Welcome to another amazing episode of Break Free to Brilliance podcast. This is your friend Seema, and I'm so excited to be here with you today because we're doing our author series for Power of Community, and we have Elaine Williams, our co-author, here with us today. Welcome, Elaine. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Thank you, Seema. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, we just went off on an amazing ride, right? Congratulations on being the #1 international best-selling author.
Thank you. Yes, it's been fun. And it was so fun to get the physical book too.
Yes.
It's great to have the electronic one, but I had forgotten. I ordered some and then I was going to speak and I thought, oh, I'll just bring some. And I couldn't believe people kept coming up to get a copy. So that was really exciting.
That is, and there's nothing better than holding your creation in your hands.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, Elaine, before we dive into our interview, let's do a grounding exercise so we can be
Sure.
totally 100% present for everyone.
Okay. That sounds great.
Okay, wonderful. So if you are in the car listening to us, that is great, but do participate in this grounding exercise, but don't close your eyes.
Yes, please don't close your eyes.
So for the rest of us, let's take in a deep breath in, settle into our seats and close our eyes. Taking another deep breath in and exhale, and just let go of anything that is not serving you right now. With your next breath in, I want you to bring into awareness your heart chakra, which is right by your heart. You may even put your hand over there to bring your awareness to it. And just taking a deep breath in and just feel the beautiful heart pump in and out. And I want you to bring into your awareness a happy moment. It can be from any time period of your life, including today. Taking another deep breath in, exhale, and I want you to relive that moment as if you're living it for the very first time. Think of the people you were with, or maybe it was you alone having some quiet time, prioritizing self-care. Think of the ambiance and the music or the laughter or the talks that's happening. Maybe you're enjoying a meal with someone. Think of those flavors. Just relive that blissful moment as if you're living it for the very first time. Just feel that within your body. And with your next inhale, I want you to bring into your awareness the crown chakra, which is at the top of your head. And I want you to think of a second happy moment. Again, it can be any time period of your life, including today. Taking a deep breath in and relive that moment as if you're living it for the very first time. Remember that feeling you had in your heart, that joyous, blissful feeling in your body, that warmth. Just experience that for a second. Taking a deep breath in and exhale. And with the next breath, inhale and exhale, I want you to open your eyes with a great big smile. Yeah.
That was lovely. Thank you.
You're welcome. Elaine, what came to your mind and heart when you were doing that meditation?
Well, I was thinking of the connections I've had recently with past clients, and several people said, I was terrified of the camera, and then I started working with you and I started a podcast. So that just makes me so happy helping women find their voice, whatever that looks like for them. And then
Yeah.
I was also thinking of when I was traveling last summer, I got to be in Dubrovnik and the old city, and it was just so magical. I got to see a beautiful musical in this fort that was open, and it was open sky, and it was just one of the most magical nights in this. And we had to climb and climb and climb, and it was just beautiful. And so I was just thinking of what a magical experience that was too. So.
Oh, beautiful. That's so beautiful. Thanks for sharing. Well, before we get into any deeper into conversation, I want to give a formal introduction of Elaine Williams. She is a video performance coach, keynote speaker, speaker coach, best-selling co-author, and comedian who has over a decade of experience working with entrepreneurs to build confidence and a captivating presence on camera and with public speaking to get their message out in the world with authenticity, ease, and humor. Some of her credits include Saturday Night Live, America's Got Talent, HBO, ABC, NBC, Fox, The New York Times, Hay House Radio, and The Huffington Post. Her clients have gone from never doing video or speaking live to having their own YouTube channels, doing international book tours, and speaking for NASA. Oh my gosh, we've got the celebrity in the house, everyone.
Thank you.
And Elaine, as I was reading that, I was getting chills up and down. It's just such amazing, amazing energy. This is so wonderful. Elaine, how did you get started in this line of work?
Well, thank you. It was just I I was searching for family. My parents divorced when I was very young, and it was the 70s. So in my little young brain, I kept thinking nobody else is divorced. And so I was always searching for family and community. And then I found theater. And the first show I did was The Sound of Music, and it was a really good production. It was at a church, but many of the people involved had worked professionally in New York and LA, and
Mhm.
and so we really had a high caliber. And I just remember loving every minute of it, and the applause and the camaraderie and the rehearsals and just the whole thing. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm in. And so I just loved performing so much. So I did theater and show choir and drill team and, any kind of, I just loved performing so much. And it was a through line with a lot of other crazy stuff happening with family and moving.
Mm,
And I think that theater was my safe place.
wow. Yeah, I mean, for someone who was an introvert and was afraid to be on stage, that sounds it sounds interesting. So it's like, oh, theater. But yeah, everyone's so different. That's amazing that you found that community that you were looking for. And community is so important. Having that right, finding that right balance and the right one where you can thrive. And that's why I think we were really attracted to this book, Power of Community.
Yes.
The title is Power of Community, Courage, Compassion, Collaboration Leads to Success. And every author, including Elaine, has shared their experience about the community, about how they've created and cultivated their own communities, and how through our communities we're all living our passion and purpose and helping make this a better place. So, Elaine, why don't you share what your chapter name is and what it's about?
Sure. So I know I changed the name. You're always like, oh, I can make it better. My
Yes.
chapter's about, healing and laughter, because it really made such a difference for me. And I always love sharing anything that, had a huge impact. I always think I want to share it so that others can use it too. And what was the final? I'm just trying to think. It was um using humor to amplify your message. Of course, I'm very happy with that, with the final version of that. Using humor to amplify your message. And so there is so much noise happening, right? The latest statistic is 8,000 messages coming at us daily between
Mm,
our phone, computer, tablets, and TVs. I mean, that's crazy town, right? And so, how do you stop the scroll? And so, I'm such a big fan of like being authentic, and it doesn't mean being perfect. And so,
yeah.
and, when we're laughing, we have a tendency to retain the information longer. And we have a tendency to lean in more if there's a charismatic voice or presence, we want to lean in and learn more. And so, and I believe charisma is getting comfortable in your own skin. I really
Mm,
think some people have it more than others, like Clinton and Kennedy, but I still think you can cultivate it, just like you can cultivate being funnier. And so, the first part of the chapter, I talk about the gift of having a comedic mindset. And if you're listening, you may be like, what the heck is that? But, we all have those days, right, Seema, where you're like, you spill coffee on your very favorite dress, or,
yes.
the big meeting and you can't seem to get on Zoom because there was an update and nobody told you or whatever, right? The internet's out, but nobody, whatever. We all have that. And
Hmm.
it's so easy to go into fight, flight, freeze, freak out, right? The amygdala. And so one of the things I learned when I started doing comedy is I kept thinking, how can I make this funny? Or, ooh, this could be funny. Is this a bit? Is this a bit? And so I started, thinking in whole new ways of like, okay, right now in this moment, this really sucks, but it's going to
Hmm.
be funny in a week or a month or a year. And think about it. When you go on vacations, you talk about like the super magical moments, and then you talk about like the horrible thing, like the worst meal, the craziest hotel, the craziest cab ride, right? Like we always talk about like a few magical things, but usually we tell like the crazy stories too. And so
Yes.
I just love it, just helped me shift so much. And so I love talking about having a comedic mindset. And, David Sedaris, he's like the famous, funny, sarcastic author. And he says, everything is funny eventually. And
That's
I
true.
love that. And, Mel Brooks made a musical making fun of Hitler. So, like, anything is possible, like the horrific things that happened. He did Springtime for Hitler, and like it doesn't get better than that. So, yeah, I just love humor because I think it can be used for good. It can be
Mm,
used to elevate, inspire, get people in action. It helps people retain information. It helps you burn calories. It raises the feel good chemicals in your brain. It releases toxins. Like, why aren't we teaching it more? So that's my
exactly. That's a great input. And I invite our listeners to think about those crazy moments, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I think that's what we typically share, right? So
yeah.
take notes because eventually, like Elaine said, eventually they become funny. So at this point, there might be, and you can see, utilize them in your speeches or even everyday kind of examples that we give.
Yes.
That would be really great. And see, just by doing that, you can elevate whatever you're teaching or sharing, and it can be a game changer.
Yes.
Elaine, why was it important for you to participate in this anthology?
Well, I fell in love. I had been asked to speak about humor and to teach when we went on this women in business cruise. It was like a mastermind, and so I had always wanted to speak on a cruise, and that was had been one of my goals. So I was like, okay, I'm in. It'll be fun. And then as we got closer to the date, I started thinking, oh Lord, I don't know these women very well. And 10 days, that is a long time, and I just started thinking of like, and then luckily I had connected with a few other people, and I was like I don't know, we were like, okay, I may have to hide, we were like making, plans. And but thank goodness our fearless leader, Katerina, she had really hand curated this group of ladies. And I saw the power of intention, and I saw the power of community and a safe space. I've
Mm.
done a ton of transformational workshops and seminars and programs since 1997. I've been on this journey, and I'm so grateful for all of it. But I had never done anything like this on a cruise. And I really there was like a bubble, and we bonded in a very short time. And I felt like we were all growing and transforming. And it was a very different experience than like Tony Robbins walking on fire or glass, and which I've done all of that. I've broken the board. I've done ropes. I've swung across things, you name it. I've scuba dived, and so this was a very different experience. And I came off the boat transformed in ways I couldn't even articulate. But I think of like owning my value and feeling higher quality, and really thinking about discernment and the gifts of deep relationships. And I just felt compelled to stay in this group with these women. And then because there were 28 of us, and then we started this chat, and then out of this came this whole idea for a book about the power of community. And I feel like that is so lacking, Seema, for so many people who don't even know maybe that that's what they're missing. The
Yeah.
old days, we used to have generations living together. We used to really know people we went to church with or schools, and now things are fragmented, right? Like that happened with COVID. And so I think people are seeking it. And so I think it's just such a great conversation to talk about, even if you haven't found your people yet, like realizing it's okay, keep looking, and you never know when you're going to find them in the least suspecting way. So I just felt compelled to be a part of it.
Oh, that's beautiful. I think that's at the end of the day, everyone is looking for that. I was just teaching a project management workshop for leaders, and in there we talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs,
Yes.
where, when we're looking at building teams or building community, after the physiological needs and the safety needs, that's what we look for, the sense of belonging. That's our innate human nature. That's how, for thousands of years, this is what we have done. We kind of go in packs. We need that community. We need to be together. And when you don't have that sense of belonging and that place, or be in the right one, it can be such a, people have had such hard times with that.
Yes.
And people, if we see through history, right, people have fought for communities, they've died for communities, they've killed for communities. That's how important it is. But sometimes it's not always easy finding the right kind of communities, right? So in this book, with all of us combined, each one of us has shared what are the best. How do you know that you're in the right community? How do you
Mm,
know that it's time for change? Because sometimes we're also evolving, right? Elaine, we're
yes.
evolving, we're growing. Sometimes it's important to leave your current community and go to the next one so you can evolve
Mm.
as a person as well. So, can you give some tips, Elaine, of how people can know whether, if they're in the wrong type of community, what are some of those pointers that they can feel into, knowing that it might be time for change?
Sure. And I was just thinking, like, I remember I found community at my yoga studio, and I was like so happy, and then it changed and I felt so angry. And then I found a different community. So it's not you're not like you're one and done, and then I've been a part of different AA groups, and then they change, and so it's magical when you have them. And I guess that's part of life and the journey. So I
Yeah.
I think one of the things is, do you feel seen, heard, and understood? And do you feel like it's safe for you to be vulnerable? Whatever
Mm-hmm.
that means to you. Like, I am I'm pretty much I'm very open because I have trained myself to be that way, and that's just kind of who I am. It's part of my brand. It's my comedy. It's and from being in the 12-step recovery rooms for almost 24 years, that is how I have been able to maintain my sobriety and staying in recovery. And so I am very like, bleh. And I'm not an idiot. I can feel the judgment. I feel people project onto me. I'm very sensitive.
Mm.
And so, if I feel a lot of that, then I'm gonna keep it moving. And I think it depends, but if you feel safe, if you feel seen, heard, gotten, sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes you get to keep showing up and sitting with different people. I'm a member of a women's group in Dallas, and there are some lovely women I have deeply connected with, and there's some others that I'm like, whoa, like this one person is kind of she transferred, and she will sit there and have 4 glasses of wine during our meeting and gets pretty sloppy and kind of disrespectful. And so I'm like,
Mm.
okay, I'm definitely not sitting over there, and that's fine. Like, I hope that she finds whatever she's looking for. So I think it's a process. It's a process.
It definitely is. And sometimes, because you're growing and evolving as a person, one way to recognize is that um, you're, you get these hints internally in your voice saying, okay, you need something more, you need something more to
Hmm.
stretch, because there's so much that you can gain from there. But it's also about how much of you are you getting involved in, how much of you are you putting into the community. It's not just what you can get out, but what are you giving? When you give,
Yeah.
that's when you get a lot more. So make sure that you're seeing what's your contribution. Are you making the possible contributions that you can? Because you have amazing gifts, right? You have amazing gifts that people need to learn from you and experience you. But then there are times where you feel, okay, I need to grow more. It's a wonderful group, but I'm not learning anymore and I need
Right.
to grow. So that's another hint that you can get
And
that
I
this
would
is,
also caution, Seema, in my experience, I know so many amazing women who have overgiven. They have
mm,
given and given and given. And I was in a networking group in like 2017, 2018, and it was heavy on the guys. And my gut was like, no, but my head, it was a friend, da, 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 So I overrode my gut. And luckily, I got the lesson in a couple of months instead of a couple of years, because I was
mm,
showing up, I was bringing leads, I was bringing so much enthusiasm, I was making videos, I was educating them, I was coming with so much. And the guys would be like, well, I can help you, but I'm gonna have to charge you. Like, it was such a different mentality. And then I went and I had lunch with like the president, and he said, you're not giving enough. And 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 I think it was the universe was like testing me. So I after the lunch, I sat with that. I really sat with that. And I thought, you know what? This is I don't understand everything, but this does not feel right to me. And I've already given a ton, and I have yet to get one referral or anybody to come to and so I think for me that was a huge lesson, and I got it in a matter of months. And in the past, I would have like hung in there for like a year or two. So for me, that I share that not to toot my own horn, but so that hopefully you can hear if you're in a place we outgrow people, or
yeah,
it's just not a fit. Like, hey
yeah,
man, they're doing whatever they're doing. Their marketing was so 1990s, and I was trying to get them caught up. And then I just thought, hey, you know what? I don't want to drag people up the mountain with their heels dug in, and
yes,
so, give yourself permission. If it doesn't feel great and you're not sure, it's okay to take a pause, you know? So I just,
definitely. Yeah,
women can
that's,
be so giving and so generous. And sometimes it's like, hey, it's okay to say, wait a second, what are you getting back? Does it feel, does it feel like it's in a flow, or does it just feel like You're
Yeah.
giving, and then when we're givers, who do we attract? The takers, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a great input. Listen to your gut, feel into that, give what you feel comfortable, and then give without expectations
Yes.
as well. I think that's when life becomes a lot more easier because then you're controlling and you're controlling what's feeling good. Okay. So that's great input for that one. Elaine, how can you start your own community? What advice do you have for that?
Ah, wow. That is such a great. So last night, Seema, you're gonna love this. I have this new client who's wanted to do stand up forever. She's super talented. She's been on stage in all other ways. And so last night we went to her first open mic and she did great. And the whole time I'm sitting there going, we have to start our own mic. We have to start our own mic because God bless them. It was lots of young men, and it's like a lot of young guys think they can get up there and walk around like Chris Rock, and they haven't really, and
Mm-hmm.
they talk about farting and body parts, and it's just this lowbrow thing that a lot of new male comics go through. And
Hmm.
I have had to sit through hours and hours and hours of that. And I'm just at the point where like I don't like you know. So I'm
Yeah.
already like coaching my client. I said, I want you to think about starting your own mic because we want a place that's friendlier towards women, that's not misogynistic. And
Hmm.
so I think if you're another one of my clients, we've talked about like create the community that you're craving. One of my friends was going through a divorce and she knew she needed community and she started an AA/Al-Anon meeting. We called it the Double Winners. And we met
Hmm.
on Sunday evenings for years and years and years. And it was so deep and rich. And unfortunately, COVID kind of, blew things out of the water with that. But we went through so much together as a community and it was so special. And she created that, and sometimes it's inconvenient, right? Sometimes somebody gets sick or nobody can come, and but when you set the intention, so if you're wanting to create a spiritual community, a comedic community, find a cohort that is committed with you and invite people and see what happens. You never know what magic can come about from it.
The beautiful part of creating your own community is because you get to set the intentions of what you want to do, who you want part of it. You get
Yes.
to interview everyone that comes through, and you get to select who's going to be there. So it's a lot more in your control. You can
Yes.
have a lot more of the kind of people that you're really vibing with. You can have control with people who you're vibing with.
You to me you can really set, like, let me give it, if I may. So when I had my own open mic, I really set the tone of like, this is going to be a positive place. And I actually turned it into like a workshop environment
Hmm.
because, you had new people, you had seasoned comics, you had all different kinds of people coming. It was, and it was in Broadway Comedy Club. And so I got to really get to say how the vibe was going to go. And I would demand that people pay attention and demand that they clap for each other and demand, and it really set the tone. And then my comedy buddy, she had her own shows, and it was such a positive, cool vibe. We had headliners coming by begging to get on stage. And so,
Wow.
one of the things, if you're committed to being consistent with your whatever community you're wanting, you get to set the intention and the vibe, and so, and who doesn't need some uplifting and positivity?
Exactly. Yeah. And with the online world, I mean, people have started small and now they have like 17,000 people in their group and stuff. So you get to control the pace and how much you want to grow. You can have local, you can have a combination, but you want to be slow and steady. And then as you're growing, get some moderators and get some people to support you with that and have a variety. You have education, have fun. It just depends on the intent of your group, of your
Absolutely.
community, but warmth, respect, integrity, fairness, is all the things that you want to have and include where everyone, and it's like Cheers, where the show in the 80s,
Right, where everybody
Cheers, the
knows your
bar in
name. Dun,
Boston,
dun, dun. Yeah.
everybody knows your name and they all, they're together, they're there to support you in all possible ways. So those are some amazing tips, um, Elaine, that you share with us. Now, what do you hope our readers and our listeners who are going to read the book what do you hope for them to get out of Power of Community?
Well, the stories are so good. I was so busy with the launch. I had done all this extra interviewing and editing, and so I was catching up, and I just have finally finished reading all of the stories. And, we have, I don't know who the youngest is, but the oldest is like in her 80s, I think. And, there's just a wide variety of wisdom, and the theme I think is just like badass women who like said, you know what? I don't like what is happening and I'm going to do something about it. And whether they knew what they were doing or not. And Sandy's story about opening a charter school for her son because he was falling through the cracks, and Terry becoming a mayor so late in life and like coming back after like her husband committing. I mean, the stories are so deep and rich, and I just love. Who loves? I mean, of course, we love Mel Robbins, we love Brene Brown, like we love Oprah. There's so many rock star women, but I love this because it's like everyday women who said, you know what, this is not okay with me, or I'm doing something different. And
Wow.
so I just love it, sort of everyday heroines. And I'm also like, I believe that when we tell our stories, we empower others to tell their stories. I am often I'm a passionate person. And when I hear about an amazing badass woman, and I'm like, why don't we know this story? It makes me so mad, like inspired, but like, oh my God. And so I know, God has given me this talent and this big personality and this voice. I am going to be telling women's stories and minority stories until my last breath because
Mhm.
I love men, but we have had enough white men stories for the rest of time. Let's celebrate all the other amazing people on the planet. In the past, in the history, and now. And so, come read this book. It's going to be inspiring, and share it. Share the stories and share your stories because we need to hear them. We need lots of different perspectives, and we need to hear all different kinds of experiences. So I just get so passionate about telling stories that need to be told. It's time. It's 2024, you know.
It's definitely time. I totally agree with you. And that's why I'm passionate about bringing forth anthologies under a theme because you get
Yeah.
the diverse stories. Because, not everyone's going to relate to me and not
Right.
everyone's going to relate to you, Elaine. But in a collective, someone's going to relate to one of the eight people in there. It's
Yeah.
not possible that you won't. And you get to see that under similar situations, there can be so many different ways of handling the problems, the challenges, and how everyone's come out. So it really gives hope. It gives inspiration. It gives you another perspective. So where can they get the book from you, Elaine?
Well, you can reach out to me, or you can go on Amazon and order it. You can get it, the electronic version or the paper version, or you can have me come talk to your group. I can do a comedic, entertaining, wildly educational about video visibility speaking. And I can do book signings, which I've done in the past for my other books when I was speaking on college campuses and military bases. And that's really fun because it adds like a bit of pizzazz and celebrity. And so you can take pictures. There's so many fun things you can do with book signings. And I want to say one other thing, Seema.
Yeah.
I love these kind of books too, because you can just read a couple of pages. And, sometimes novels, I just don't have the headspace. And so I like this because you can just read a couple of pages and get a lot and put it down and then come back to it later. And you don't have to be like, now, where was I with this long character
Yes.
story?
Yes.
So I love it. And, everybody, there's not one person who is not just amazing in this book. So.
It's a beautiful book. I am really proud of it. And I'm not being biased at all. No bias, very objective review. It's an amazing book. You got to get it. Read Elaine's story, read all the ladies' stories. It is amazing. So, Elaine, what's coming up next for you, and how can people get in touch with you?
Oh, thank you. Elaine Williams Fun on Instagram is one of the most fun ways, Elaine Williams Fun, or captivatethecrowd.com. Come find me there. There is a lot of cool resources. And I am going to be on a little tour. I'm going to the East Coast next week. And I have some client meetings and some really cool projects happening up there. And then I'm also going to be going on some retreats in Italy with two of my clients. So, if you're somebody who's looking for adventure and wanting to be around cool people and do some transformational travel, you should definitely reach out, because there are some cool things happening. So that's what's closest on my radar.
That's amazing. Transformational travel. I love that. Elaine, we're going to talk. I love traveling. Well, it was so amazing having you here, Elaine. Thank you so much for dedicating some time to us and to our listeners. And congratulations on your book. Congratulations on becoming a #1 international best-selling co-author. And listeners, until next time, well, not until next time. And listeners, I hope you have found some action points to take to add some humor to your life. So let's amplify our message with humor, and let's really live our purpose through that. And until next time, this is Seema. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Break Free to Brilliance podcast. And I hope you had some key takeaways that you can implement right away. Be sure to subscribe to Break Free to Brilliance wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also follow along with us on social media using the links in the show notes below.